Hi guys, welcome to another one of my videos and thanks a lot for the amazing response you gave me on my previous video about cadet pilot programs. I'm glad to see that a lot of you wrote in, commented, and I'm most glad to see that a lot of you were helped by the content of the video. A lot of you also gave me feedback on that video telling me it's a little too long for your taste. Hence, from now on, we'll do short, crisp videos discussing maybe one or two topics per video. I feel like I made a little bit of an oversight on the previous video in assuming that a lot of you would know about the basic license types that any typical pilot would encounter during his career. A lot of you don't, so let's get down to discussing the 4 basic license types before we can discuss anything else about commercial pilot training. Now, the 4 typical kinds of licenses any pilot would come across during his career in any country in the world are the SPL or the student pilot license, the PPL or the private pilot license, the CPL, commercial pilot license, and the ATPL, the airline transport pilot license. Some countries tend to call the ATPL and ALTP, but it's essentially the same thing. Now, an SPL is the first license you will be issued when you join a flying club for the first time. It is issued by the flying club under the Aviation Regulatory Authority, in our case, the DGCA. An SPL permits you to begin your training at the flying club and it allows you to fly the airplane in command, that is solo, all by yourself, under the aegis of the flying club. It is under the SPL that you will do all 200 hours of your training. And once you're done with your 200 hours of training, you present your SPL along with all your other documents proving your experience, plus the examinations that you've cleared with the DGCA to get your CPL or commercial pilot's license issued. The second one is a private pilot license. Now, this is my personal favorite because there's a lot of myth surrounding a private pilot license. Please understand, in order for you to get a commercial pilot's license in India, a private pilot license is not a requisite. A private pilot license is exactly what the word says. Private pilot license. It is for yourself. It is your private license. In the event that you are an aircraft owner, or in the event that you want to become an aircraft owner, or in the event that you want to fly an airplane just for hobby, you get a private pilot license. The requirements for a private pilot license are a lot lesser than a CPL. A CPL requires you to have 200 hours of flying before you can get a CPL issued. A private pilot license, on the other hand, requires you to typically have about 40 hours of flying. A private pilot license allows you to fly an airplane like a Cessna 152 or a 172 or even a twin engine for that matter in command, as long as you're not doing it for remuneration. So a private pilot license allows you to fly any airplane in the world in command as long as you're not charging to fly that airplane. You're flying it for yourself. It's your own private license. Now, you could ask me that if a PPL allows you to fly an airplane in command and an SPL allows you to fly an airplane in command, and a PPL doesn't allow you to make money and an SPL doesn't allow you to make money, why would you want to get a PPL in the first place? Please understand, an SPL allows you to fly an airplane in command under the aegis of the flying school. You are allowed to fly the airplane solo on an SPL as long as you're flying under a CFI or a Chief Flying Instructor of the flying school. A PPL, on the other hand, allows you to fly the airplane all by yourself, which means you could take an Indian PPL or any PPL for that matter and approach another flying school in any country in the world or any establishment that allows you to fly their airplane on your PPL, not for remuneration, and you could fly that airplane. That cannot be done with an SPL. An interesting thing to note about a private pilot license is that there's absolutely no weight classification on a private pilot license. So technically, you could fly a 737 on a private pilot license, assuming somebody lets you fly a 737 on a private pilot license, which in most cases would not happen. If you owned a 737, sure, you could fly a 737 on a private pilot license. You're going to understand the weight classification I spoke about in just a few moments from now when I discuss the weight classification on a CPL. Now let's talk about a commercial pilot's license. A commercial pilot's license is exactly what the word says, commercial pilot's license. It's a license for pilots meant for commercial use, which means if you want to be a pilot who wants to be paid to fly, you want to be an airline pilot, or you want to be a corporate pilot, or you want to be an instructor, you need to have a commercial pilot's license. A private pilot license will not allow you to make money whilst you fly. You cannot be a pilot who can be paid to fly with a PPL. But with a commercial pilot's license, you could be a pilot, a professional pilot, with an airline, with a corporate charter firm, as an instructor. You could be a pilot who gets paid to fly. Now, a commercial pilot's license has a weight classification on it, which means, as a commercial pilot's license holder, you cannot fly an airplane more than 12,500 pounds in command. You can fly the airplane as a co-pilot, but you cannot fly it in command. 12,500 pounds roughly translates to about 5,700 kgs in India. So, if the airplane is more than 5,700 kgs, you could fly it as a co-pilot, but you cannot fly it in command. So a CPL typically requires you to have about 200 hours of experience before you can go to the aviation regulator and get a CPL issue. So you go to the aviation regulator with your SPL, your 200 hours of flying and the examinations that you've cleared with the regulator and get your CPL issued. Most of the co-pilots in India that join airlines or corporate charter firms generally join with a commercial pilot's license. They build up their experience and eventually get an airline transport pilot license, which is what we'll be discussing next, the ATPL. Now let's talk about the senior-most kind of license, the ATPL, the Airline Transport Pilot License, also called an ALTP in some countries. An ATPL, depending on the aviation regulator, once again in our case the DGCA, roughly needs about 1,500 hours of experience on any aircraft type. There is a breakup of these hours in terms of the number of night hours, the number of day hours, the number of instrument hours, but roughly you can assume you need about 1,500 hours before you can get an ATPL issued. There's also a separate set of examinations that you need to clear with DGCA, which are much more difficult than the CPL examinations you clear for your CPL for you to get your ATPL. Practically all of the airline commanders in India are all flying on ATPLs or Airline Transport Pilot License. Guys, I hope this video has helped you clarify a lot of your doubts about the SPL, PPL, CPL and ATPL license types. Please remember a few important things. An SPL is a student pilot license which allows you to fly in a flying club. You could fly the airplane solo or in command as long as you're flying in a flying club under a CFI. PPL, on the other hand, is a private pilot license meant for you. You could fly an airplane for your own pleasure, but you cannot make money with a PPL, and there is no weight restriction on a PPL, which means you could fly any airplane in the world, including a 737, on a PPL if somebody lets you. A CPL is a professional grade license that enables you to make money whilst you fly. Most of the co-pilots in India have got CPLs. And an ATPL is an airline transport pilot license, the senior most kind of license there is in commercial aviation and allows you to fly any airplane in the world in command as long as you're rated for that airplane type. And most importantly, a lot of you make a mistake here. Please understand, a PPL is not a prerequisite for a CPL in India. You could get commercial pilot's license in India without ever having a private pilot's license. It is not a prerequisite. You could get a PPL if you wanted to during your commercial pilot's license course. I did when I did my commercial pilot's license, but it is not a prerequisite. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please share it with as many aspiring pilots as you can. The idea is for people to benefit from this video. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get updates for future videos that I upload. Once again, to safe skies and safer landings, I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.